In today's video, I'm going to go through the 5 steps you need to do to be successful at Amazon FBA. Hi, my name's Simon. I'm a 6-figure Amazon seller in the UK, and I think this is probably the easiest, simplest, and best guide to being successful on Amazon FBA. So here are the 5 steps to success on Amazon FBA, and if you follow this plan, you will be successful. It just requires a lot of hard work. So the first step is to plan. Now you need to actually plan what you're planning on actually spending, what you actually want to make, what kind of sourcing you're going to be doing, what kind of business you're going to be running. So at the very most basic level, you need to try and figure out exactly how much capital you've got to put into the business. We'll go into that in just a second. How much profit you actually want to make from Amazon FBA. Are you going to be doing online arbitrage or retail arbitrage or a mixture of both? And once you figure out all those things, it gives us a good idea of how we can actually plan our Amazon FBA business. Now, when it comes to actually making money on Amazon, we unfortunately need capital. Capital is the lifeblood of the business. We need to be spending money to make money. And what I've got here is a graph just showing you exactly how much you need to be spending per month to make a certain amount of money. Now, many of you guys will have seen this before, but I like to repeat this so I can just make it crystal clear exactly what you need to be doing to make a certain amount of money. So as a classic thing, we are looking maybe to make £1,000 per month. I normally teach my students you're aiming for 30% ROI minimum. That's from doing online arbitrage, retail arbitrage. Now, retail arbitrage will be higher, but as a general rule, the minimum is 30%, so we'll run off those figures. Now, if you want to make £1,000 a month, you need to be spending £3,333 every single month to make £1,000. Now, realistically, we're not going to be able to actually churn all our stock in 1 month. So I have come up with the rule of 3 and the rule of 10. And essentially what this is a rough guide that you can just quickly do in your head to figure out how much money you need to be spending and how much capital you need to make a certain amount of money. So, going back to the previous example, we've got £1,000 is what we want to make per month. We need to be spending $3,333. We're just going to round that down to 3,000. And then the rule of 10 is the total amount of capital you need. So what you need to do is times that monthly profit by 10. So all you need to do with the rule of 3 and rule of 10 is say if I want to make £1,000 a month, then I need to times that by 3 to give me my monthly spend of 3,000. And I need to times it by 10 to give me my total amount of capital. So £1,000 a month is £3,000 a month in terms of spend and £10,000 in total capital. And we can do the same thing here, kind of roughly where I am right now. I make roughly around £10,000 every single month. That means I need to be spending £33,333. Just round that down to £30,000. So that's 3 times. And I need a total capital amount of around £100,000. So that's the 10x. So this is just a kind of little rule that I've come up with to help people figure out exactly what they need to be spending and how much capital they need. Now, obviously, if you are running at higher ROIs, like 40% and 50%, these things don't work. You can maybe come up with your own different rule. But yeah, as I say, 30% ROI is the minimum you need. Now, if you end up getting 40%, 50%, 60% ROI, that is fantastic. It means you need to spend less and have less capital. But yeah, as a general rule, 30% is the bare minimum we need. So we've basically decided now, we've come up with a realistic plan of how much capital we need, how much we need to be spending. And it might be that, £1,000 is going to be too much. If you've only got £5,000 in capital, then realistically, you're only really going to make £500 a month. And that is because 500 times by 3 gives you 1,500 to spend per month. And if you times 500 times by 10, it gives you 5,000. So that just gives you an idea, basically. And if you've got less than this, guys, you can still do this, but obviously your monthly profits are going to be less. So we've come up with a plan on capital, how much we need to spend. You obviously need to decide yourself, are you going to do online arbitrage or are you going to do retail arbitrage or a mixture of both? This all comes down to your own preferences, really. Are you an outdoor person who prefers to be out the house? Going around all the shops, or are you someone who wants to actually sit at a computer all day and do sourcing? So now we've come up with a plan. Now we need to go on to step 2, which is prepare. And what I mean by prepare is prepare by having all the tools that are essential to doing Amazon FBA. Now, in my opinion, and this is going beyond the basic profit tracking, all that kind of stuff like that. This is actually using software and services that are going to help you find leads and actually teach you how to do Amazon FBA. So the first one that I actually recommend, and there's a link for all these in the description, is Mental Picks as a Discord group. Now, the reason I like this is because you can do the retail arbitrage, you can do the online arbitrage, there's all those leads on there. And basically the whole idea is that you join this group, and then not only do you get the leads, but you can learn what sites to source, what products sell well, and all this basically. And you want to utilize this site as much as possible. The second thing you need to do to prepare is, in my opinion, use a software like Arbisource. And the reason why Arbisource is so good is because you can use it every day to run scans on websites looking for opportunities to buy stock that is profitable, but you can also use the price drop monitor as well. So you've got now 2 sources of leads. So now you've got a good base, a good preparation for actually finding leads and for learning. And you're going to be learning about the brands, the sites, the categories, all this kind of stuff basically. The next thing is going to be source. So beyond that as well, you need to be, and this is step 3 by the way guys, you need to be sourcing yourself. If you want to succeed in Amazon FBA, you need to sit down and learn how to source. So what I'd be doing firstly is allocating 1, 2, 3 hours every single day, Monday to Friday, and you're going to be going through firstly all the Mental Picks leads. And buying all the appropriate ones. You're going to be running scans on Arbisource, maybe finding where there's sales on and buying those leads as well. But you're also going to be manually sourcing. And my favorite sourcing method is newsletter sourcing. So you can use a site like SalesGazer, which is free by the way, to essentially sign up to newsletters for sites. And then once you see the newsletters come in, you see what sales are going on, you're going to manually source. So with these 3 different approaches, these 3 different avenues of getting leads, you should have more than enough leads to keep you going unless you've got a vast amount of capital. But the most important and most critical part of this is you actually need to sit down regularly, ideally every day, and spend 1, 2, 3 hours every single day sourcing. Now, I understand not everyone can do this. They've got busy lives, they've got jobs, they've got family. I get it. You do need to spend a minimum of 1 hour. So you really need to find that 1 hour if you can. And maybe you can make up for it on the weekends as well. But realistically, we're looking probably around 2 hours every day, Monday to Friday. So it's probably 40 hours of work of sourcing. And this is all upfront work that you guys need to do, because without doing this, you're not going to learn how to source, you're not going to get good at it, and then you can't eventually pass all these tasks on to a VA or someone like that. So, this is just essential things that you need to do. So yeah, between 20 and 40 hours a month, I would say, which comes to around 1 or 2 hours a day. And obviously, the more you can do, the better. Now, before we go on to the 4th and 5th steps, I want to talk about my sponsor, Profit Protector Pro. Now, guys, when you're doing your Amazon selling, you're going to need a repricer, and the one that I recommend is Profit Protector Pro. Now, the reason it is so good is because it's going to do a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure you're actually getting sales on all your hard work that you're doing on your sourcing. So obviously you've done the hard work, you've sourced, and you want to make sure you're getting the sale. So Profit Protector Pro, using its AI algorithms, will be repricing your items to make sure you're getting those sales and making a tidy profit. So if you want to sign up to that, again, the link is in the description. So step 4 is to learn. And what you need to be learning is looking at all your previous purchases, and you should probably do this every sort of 3 months or so, is looking back at all the old purchases that did really well, and you want to be keeping track of what went well, what didn't go well, have you got any replens, what sites did you source from that had good leads and what sites didn't. And you need to be just figuring this out as you go, essentially tracking your progress in terms of what went well, what didn't go well. So it might be that you source one particular site and all the leads tanked. Maybe this is a site like Starvana. And then you're thinking, well, I'm not going to spend my efforts on that site anymore. I'll move on to something else. It might be that you sourced a fantastic site and it went really well and you got some great leads. So you might want to spend more time on that site. And it could just come down to categories as well. It might be that one category does better than another category. And basically what you need to be doing is just learning from your mistakes, your successes and your failures, and trying to minimize the failures and improve the successes. So all this is very simplistic when put down in a plan like this, but yeah, obviously I understand when it comes to actually doing this, it's actually harder. But this is the plan that you need. And beyond learning how you've gone from your successes and failures, you need to be learning from other resources, whether it's getting one-on-one coaching, whether it's just asking people for help in Discord groups, whether it's going onto YouTube and watching loads of videos. That's what I like to do. Make sure you keep learning and keep improving, because, what you do now will be different in like 6 months, for example. So, well, I hope anyway. Unless obviously you get it right first time. So you need to keep evolving, you need to keep learning. And this brings us on to step 5. You need to reevaluate your plan. You need to reevaluate your leads and see how things have gone. So I recommend you do this every 3 months. You go back, and like I mentioned in step 4, you need to be looking at what went well, what didn't go well. You need to be reevaluating your profit goals and your spending. Hopefully you've made more money now, you've got more capital, so you can start increasing that spend. Hopefully you've learned more about what sites do well, what sites don't do well. How did you get on with mental picks? How did you get on with Arbisource? Are they worth carrying on or not? Did you find them good? Did they cover the subscription at least? So you need to figure out what works for you. Everyone's obviously different. Are you someone who, you started off maybe looking for, high volume, low profit, and maybe you want to change strategy to, high profit, low volume, or maybe you started off planning on doing RA, but now you find you prefer OA. So you just need to keep reevaluating and don't stick to kind of one plan, because one thing I can tell you with Amazon FBA is, even if you get a great plan that works well for a year or so, it probably won't carry on working as time goes on. So guys, hopefully you found that video useful. Essentially what this comes down to is putting the legwork in. If you follow this plan, I don't see how you can't be successful in Amazon FBA. But the crux, the most important part of this entire plan is the sourcing. So obviously we can plan, we can prepare, but the main thing we need to be doing is finding leads and sourcing. Obviously some of those will come from mental picks, some of those will come from Arbisource, but at the end of the day, the best leads are going to come from your manual sourcing. So you need to put the work in, you need to learn how to do it. And like I said before, once you get good at it, you can maybe get good at a site, learn the sales cycles, things like that. You can then pass this on to a virtual assistant. Once you know how to do it, you can teach it to someone else and they can do it for you. You can't get a virtual assistant before then though. So you've just got to put the work in, guys. If you follow this plan, you will succeed. It's basically guaranteed. Obviously, if you're buying the correct leads and stuff, but this is why you need to learn them all, learn from your successes, learn from your failures. And yeah, if you need any help, guys, you got access to my free Discord as well, where you can ask me any questions, hang out with other sellers. Link for that is in the description as well. And as always, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Peace.